Hey guys. Do I look good? Am I centered? I'm not. Never centered. Recording videos, it's difficult. It's a young man's game. So, cancer story part 4. We're there. Part 4. Oh, geez, where do we start? Let's start with where we left off in part 3. I'll try to keep it as entertaining as I can so you're not bored, but it's not a really entertaining subject. Where we left off was I did my own treatment. Cancer was gone. I saw a doctor. He said, I don't believe the cancer's actually gone. We did his tests, which is a PET scan, to go hand in hand with the other tests. They were clear. And at that point, he was like, yeah, tests are fine. We'll just do follow-ups. So he went from being real concerned to didn't really give a shit at all. So I was really confident, maybe a little cocky, but I'm just like, yeah, I did it. I got rid of my cancer on my own. I should write a book, which, you know, I still feel like it was a success. It was. But since I'm not a scientist and I don't have a lab, you know, we don't know what could have been tweaked to make it better. Anyway, so with cancer, you have to get follow-ups all the time, the rest of your life, usually once a year for the rest of your life after the first 5 years. During the first 5 years, you have to go every 3 to 6 months to make sure that, you know, you're cancer-free or in remission or cured or whatever. So I waited about 6 months and I called this doctor, fully planning on getting a different doctor, but knowing the steps you have to go through. Like with me, I usually have to make 12 phone calls, not an exaggeration, to schedule one test. Yeah, it's that much of a pain in the ass. So called his office. I said, hi, I would like to schedule follow-up CT scans of blood work. Excuse me. And they said, okay. So they did it. I went and had the test done. And then I had to figure out a different doctor to go to and bring the test to show. So dragged my feet a little bit because, I mean, you know, imagine your normal daily life with work and bills and trying to get everything done. And now add on all this other crap that you have to do that's basically a full-time job in itself while you're still trying to do the things that you actually enjoy. It's a nightmare. So I found the hospital, it's 2 miles on the street. There's 3 oncologists that work there. I got an appointment with one of them and I went in and brought the results in and it wasn't the best news. He said, and this is about the beginning of this year, he said, well, the lymph nodes, there's 2 spots, but the one lymph node that everybody's watching, it grew a little bit. He said, right now at this point, it's nothing to be too concerned about, but we gotta find out what's going on. So we're gonna do a PET scan. So yet again, another one of those creepy tests where they inject you with the radioactive glucose, where they wear the lead suit and the stuff is in a lead case and everything is in lead except for you, who they injected into. So he said, we're gonna do that. We'll see what that says. And then depending on the results, we'll go from there. I said, awesome. I'm not worried. So we did the tests and it's a mobile system. So it comes in on a truck and it was late by like an hour. And I gotta say, I was not really confident in 100% confident in the cleanliness of the truck. So you walk in, you go up the steps, because you know it's in the trailer, and there, I mean, I'm sure it's multiple millions of dollars, right, for all this equipment in this thing. But you walk in, there's a room over here where you wait. So I go in and I'm sitting down, and I'm looking, and there's a door that separates that room, and there's a crack. So here's the door, right? Here's the doorknob, side of the door opens. There's a crack around the doorknob, like someone tried to kick the door and it broke right around where the doorknob was because I was holding it in place. So there's a crack all around there. And then I started looking and there's all these boxes that have like the radioactive symbol on them all over the place. And they're open. And behind me on this rack are all these boxes with the radioactive symbol on them also. So I'm sitting in this chair waiting, and I was just like, man, based off what I see here, I'm not fully confident there's not radioactive stuff all over this place. So I stood up, picked up my jacket, I was like, I hope I don't have any, I don't know, isotopes, whatever, science class, radioactive isotopes all over my shit, right? And then eventually they're like, we're ready. So I go out there, do the tests. PET scan machine looks like 2 CAT scan machines next to each other. So if you're not familiar, never fails. There are always sirens here. It's like 5 sirens a day. And I've never actually seen anything bad go down, so I don't even know what happens. Anyway, hopefully it won't be too bad. I'm just gonna keep going. A CAT scan machine looks like a giant donut, okay? You go through this donut. An MRI machine is like a giant tube that you go through. A PET scan machine is like 2 CAT scan machines next to each other. It's like 2 donuts and there's a gap in between them. So I do that, and I go. The follow-up we had from it basically said that there was a glucose uptake, a higher rate in the lymph node they were watching, of course, and in this one up here in my clavicle. So the doctor said I needed to get a biopsy. So I went and got a biopsy. And they do an ultrasound at the same time so that they can see where they're putting the needle, okay? Now, I don't remember the different types of biopsies. I remember one kind, but the first one they did, I don't remember. And so you're watching this screen, and they numb you up, they inject, I don't know if it's lidocaine or what, but so they do that, and they take this needle, and you see the screen, and you see the lymph node they're going into, and you just see it like over and over again. So they do that, and they send that to the lab. And then they wait on a phone call, which takes like a minute, right? The phone call is the lab, and the lab says to the doctor, hey, you got enough sample, we're good. Or they say, well, we're gonna need more, blah, blah, blah. In this case, they needed what's called a core biopsy, which is that's the one that I remember. And what that is they use a coring needle, which basically, think of it as a sharp cylinder, like all those needles are, but this one, when it goes in, so it's a tube, and it goes in, and then whatever tissue is in that tube, when it goes in, it takes it back out with it, okay? And this thing is spring-loaded. So it's almost like a little, it looks like a syringe, but it's got a spring on it, and it fires it in like a gun. So I'm watching this thing, and you hear click, and it just goes, and shoots in. They did a couple of those. So we were done. So the surgeon, nice guy, he says, hey, just so you're not waiting around for the results, don't tell anyone, but the lab said that it is what we thought it was going to be, which means that it is cancer. So I said, okay, I won't tell anybody you told me. I appreciate you telling me. All right. So we left, and Amanda and I decided to go get lunch, and she said, so what happened? And, you know, can't lie. So I said, well, it's not good. He told me that it is cancer, so now we just have to wait and see what the doctor wants to do. So the follow-up was, I don't know how many days or weeks later, maybe, I want to say 1 or 2 weeks later. And he said, well, we're gonna have to do chemo. And I said, I really don't want to do that, but okay, what kind of chemo? He said, there's 2 options. There's 3 cycles of BEP or 4 cycles of EP. Each cycle being 3 weeks, as you know from my other videos, 1 week of drugs, 2 weeks of washout. So, here is the decision I had to make. BEP, bleomycin, etoposide, cisplatin. Cisplatin is platinum-based, which I'm assuming is why they give it the initial P instead of C. So, side effects. Bleomycin messes up your lungs a lot. So, like lung damage to the point of where you can die. Most people don't die from it, but it is a pretty common side effect, lung damage from it, okay? So, there's that. And I don't remember if it's etoposide or cisplatin. might be etoposide, I'm not sure. One of them causes leukemia. I think all the side effects are from the cisplatin. But leukemia, which shows up in either 4 to 6 years, so 5 years, something like that, in 1% of people. Other side effects are tingling of the fingers, hearing loss. So I had to say, okay, do I want 4 cycles of the stuff that causes leukemia, hearing loss, and lots of feeling in my fingers and toes and everything? Or do I want 1 week less of that stuff, so 75% of what I would have in the 4, but then adding in something that's gonna destroy my lungs? So we went back and forth for a while because that's a tough decision. And I went in and I did a lung test just to find out if I could even do the one bleomycin. So they did a lung test, which is nuts. You sit in this thing, it's like a tube, and you breathe into this machine, and then they give you albuterol, which is like an asthma inhaler, and then you do the same breathing exercises. So I went to the doctor again to get the results of that to decide what we're gonna do. He said, you had no change from the albuterol. I've never seen that before. So I'm gonna send you to a neurologist. So, now keep in mind, this stuff's all pushing back the start date, okay? So I have to go to a neurologist because they think I have some kind of neurodegenerative disease like they did a while ago. So I go to this guy. He's like, yeah, I guess we're testing to see if you have MS. Real nice guy. Did some tests. He's like, you don't have anything wrong, but we still want to do more follow-up tests. So I said, well, I really don't. I don't think anything else is wrong. I think I just want to get the cancer stuff done with. So, anyway, I don't even remember if I canceled those appointments. Whatever. Anyway, I go back to the doctor. I was like, all right, he said everything's fine. Can we just start? So I decided to do the 4 cycles of the EP because I want to be able to breathe. And the ring in my ears and the numbness in the fingers, while it's still there, the numbness in the fingers is getting better. The ring in the ears is getting a little bit worse, but it's still nothing that's really unbearable or really interfering in anything that I can tell. So, yeah, we started doing that, and that brings us up to, you know, recently. So I'm gonna end the video here because when we pick up again, we'll just do a quick rundown of all the chemo cycles again, and maybe we'll have some results because right now we don't know if it worked or not. A little nervous, and I don't know why I have to wait so long because I've got a buddy who waited like 2 weeks and got his results, so I don't know why I gotta wait 3 months, but who knows? We'll see. So hopefully this is the end of it. Hopefully there is not surgery or radiation or more chemo in my future. Hopefully we're done with it. We don't have to deal with it anymore. And then I can just make videos and talk to you guys about life. We'll talk about the meaning of life, what you think it is, what I think it is, what we have in common. We'll talk about music. We won't talk about politics. We won't talk about religion. Because those are things that I don't want to discuss on here, unless you want to hear my views on them. Anyway, it's been great to, you know, finally make this other video. I feel pretty good today. Just a little bit tired as always. So, yeah. Shoot me a message, say hello. Keep checking back. And until next time.